Vlad TV. No, it's the DJ's Vlad Revenge War Against Industry Executives. Um, when it comes to Vlad TV, a lot of people dislike him. I actually fuck with him. He got some dope interviews, and I feel like now that he's starting to pop his shit, like he not taking the disrespect. People surprised by it. Like the same thing with DJ Academics is like it's but for so long that these people that sit behind a camera and you know do things that's like interviews or just cameramen in general is gonna take shit from people, bro, because like they're not gonna just let you keep disrespecting them, bro. But without further ado, we'll get straight into this video.
Yo, DJ Vlad has been fed up lately, independently building up one of the biggest, if not the biggest, hip hop interviewing platform.
Facts.
He's been painted with labels such as being the police, working with the police, a culture vulture, and many others. Vlad would largely ignore people who called him this and operate business as usual for years on end while this narrative built up and built up more and more. But it wasn't until the past year that he started addressing these claims head on, especially when it was popular artists or figures in the media, whether it be individuals or outlets. The most recent to receive some of Vlad's ruthlessness would be an employee or contractor of his after a social media back and forth. This was unlike Vlad because he would usually just respond to others. For instance, his last back and forth was with rapper NLE Choppa. This started with Vlad tweeting, "A snake oil salesman who claimed he reversed cancer using his $125 bottle of Miracle Cure just tried to buy a Vlad TV interview. This is how these guys operate." To which NLE Choppa felt like this was targeting him as he made similar claims. His response was, "On my mama, you lying, Vladimir Putin looking ass." And Vlad would fire back, "How am I lying when I never said I was talking about you? Read my tweet. You're not the only snake oil salesman out there lying about curing cancer with fake overpriced herbs. Wannabe NBA young boy looking."
Looking at
And NLE Choppa would respond saying he can't wait to see him, and Vlad would tell him that he doesn't have to wait and can show up whenever he wants. This ended well. Both of them met up, shook hands, and conducted an interview together, burying the hatchet. Although the case we're talking about today went a bit differently.
um to be honest, that shows like shit don't be about nothing. Like a lot of shit could sound crazy over the internet, but when y'all get in person, like the stress relieves. Like damn, like this person is mad cool. The shit don't really be about nothing, bro. And I wish a lot of rappers could do the same, but I guess because they portray a gangster image, they don't want to do that because they gonna look quote unquote soft.
Saweetie's album sales were being reported for selling around 2,000 copies, and Vlad joined the discussion with everyone else, saying, if Saweetie did a Vlad TV interview, she would have easily done 10x her first week sales, which was 2,000 copies. We actually reached out to one of our people and were told she won't do Vlad. Her loss. Saweetie had
Uh,
never mentioned Vlad in any capacity, not to mention this statement was untrue as well. The thing that contributed the most to Saweetie's sales that week was the person who projected her selling 2K, because it was relevant to her album, went completely viral, and got many people to check out her EP to see what was up. Likely brought it from 2K to maybe 3K. An interview likely wouldn't do that.
Sunset to
It's
3K.
possible, but definitely not to the capacity it would 10x sales to 20K. Saweetie would respond, "Actually, I've been a big fan and have screen recorded my favorite episodes. Here's one of them. Dates on the top. So if anyone reached out, it wasn't to me or my team, DJ Vlad. Happy Thanksgiving." A classy response that caused some
Okay.
confusion to all parties involved and those watching. "Thank you for the kind words, but actually, it is your team. Your publicist at Warner Bros. Is the one who blocked the interview. Same publicist who set up your interview with Shirley Jew. This is what happens when you have bad people in your corner making decisions on your behalf." With the attached text saying, "Her publicist doesn't like Vlad. She told me she wouldn't ever have her artist do it. I'm sorry." And for everyone who's asking, the publicist I'm speaking about who blocked interview requests behind Saweetie's back is Warner Music Senior Vice President of Publicity, Aisha White. Her Twitter is at Aisha White. There's quite a bit to unpack here.
Damn, he came straight and
Shirley Jew
direct.
is an individual who conducts interviews on Vlad's platform. A lot of the time, she'll get the interviews on her own, but she is contracted by Vlad, so she works for him. When he put this text out, her name was not only in the tweet, but in the text exchange. So now she gets dragged into this. The only reason she knows that Saweetie won't do Vlad is because the Warner publicist likely told her that, who she presumably has a good relationship with since she got the first Saweetie interview. And the person doesn't like Vlad for whatever reason. Why she won't have her artist do his interviews. But now, she's getting exposed and called out by Vlad for information she gave to her friend, Shirley. Tight spot to be in for Shirley.
Facts.
And she began throwing subs on Twitter at Vlad. Grown-ass men acting immature is wild. Retweeting 2 tweets that said, anyone in the media who gets on social to complain about not getting an interview, trash an artist or celeb for not granting them one, is as unserious and unprofessional as they come. TLDR recap. A man got in his feelings about not getting an interview with a woman, so he threw another woman under the bus to whine about another woman not wanting to work with him. A whole clown emoji. This is an employee or someone that works with you publicly trashing you. Her frustration is understandable. She was aired out and collateral damage, a casualty of war, by Vlad. But attacking him publicly isn't going to make that any better since he is your boss. Or he was your boss.
Yeah, I'm pretty
Shirley
sure
Jew will no longer be doing interviews on Vlad TV. I apologize to all the Vlad TV viewers for the interviews she's ruined over the past year. This was somewhat true. The Vlad audience never liked her. If you saw the comment section of any interview she ever conducted, it was filled with at least 90% or more hate, saying she sucked at interviewing. Anytime they heard her voice.
Yeah, no cap. I've seen that. Like on a lot of interviews. I've seen that on an interview with Too Short. Just a lot of interviews she's conducted. A lot of people are like, yo, what the hell is Vlad? What the hell is he letting her do it? I never really cared because it's like it's still an interview anyway, but it seemed like she never really knew what questions to ask. And then in the history that comes behind these artists, so it's like that's what made her a bad interviewer, you know?
Voice at the start of an interview they would click off. It was ruining the channel, and they were begging Vlad to start conducting interviews again. Yet, he kept her all this time. Until now. The problem that this uncovered is that there are publicists out there.
So that means he's seen the comments too. That's what that means. That's what I take from that.
Aren't even thinking of what's in the best interest of their artist potentially. Sure, let's be charitable and say maybe Saweetie's brand wouldn't go great with a Vlad interview after having done a commercial with McDonald's. But Shirley said that this publicist wouldn't have any Warner artist do an interview with Vlad because she doesn't like him. There are tons of rappers and artists on Warner. Guaranteed some of them would not only like, but also benefit from a Vlad TV interview. But they're not even going to be notified of the opportunity because a higher up has personal issues with the man. This is harmful because she's going behind Saweetie's back too. Saweetie didn't even have the opportunity to say yes or no to the interview. And who knows how many people are being blocked on Vlad because of this individual.
Facts.
For instance, if the interview was presented before Saweetie by the publicist and Saweetie said,
I didn't even know a label could have the power to tell you who you can and can't do interviews with.
Said yes, the publicist could then give a legitimate reason for why her brand may not go well with the Vlad interview and move from there instead of just taking the decision completely into her own hands. And the issue with this is the publicist is an employee. She gets paid a salary based on the money that the music of the people she represents are making, Saweetie being one of them. And not even putting it across their desk that Vlad is an interview platform that has reached out, give them an opportunity to say yes or no, is doing them a disservice. These industry people on Twitter tried to turn it into a man versus woman thing, but even Baller Alert, a woman-owned platform, spoke out and said, "We always loved and supported Saweetie as she did with us early in her career. We had the same experience in recent years with that particular publicist passing on Baller Alert, but we will always wish her the best." Vlad would walk things back and offer an apology to Saweetie. Oh, and Saweetie, I apologize for my comment about your mixtape sales. The way you responded to me showed class and professionalism. I'm honored that you're a fan of Vlad TV. Being from the Bay Area, I love when Bay artists win and consistently go out of my way to interview them. The most important thing Vlad did here, while likely unintentional, was reveal that an executive publicist at one of the three biggest record companies was blocking the artists on the roster and not informing them for Vlad interviews and potentially Baller Alert as well. Two massive independent platforms in the genre. The people who work in the industry saying it was unprofessional for Vlad to do what he did, sure. But if he didn't do that, we wouldn't have this information now.
Facts.
On top of that, where has being professional gotten him? He was professional for years, hell, over a decade, and this woman still didn't want anyone doing interviews with him. The idea of professionalism, in which a lot of these industry writers were referencing it, is for people who need to play the game in order to keep their job, in order to get a new job if they leave their old one, or not get blackballed, because their job relies on working or representing
Vlad
a
don't need
company.
to play the game, bro.
Nobody's going to stop watching DJ Vlad content because he was unprofessional and called someone out.
Love got a
Nobody's going to stop
hold
watching
on.
academics content
Love got a DJ Vlad interview. I didn't even know.
because he called out Chief Keef, Lil Durk, and others for not doing interviews with him. So on and so forth with other media platforms that have a huge audience. So really, the only way that this type of outcasting and blackballing can stop is by being at the very least slightly unprofessional, to get to the truth. Vlad has never been able to get interviews with mainstream artists, but has managed to either get artists' first interviews before they become mainstream or create interview niches that are so interesting it cultivated an audience that weren't there just for the people being interviewed, because these people weren't necessarily massively famous, but the dynamic and the topics the people were being interviewed on.
Facts.
At a
He
point
knows
in
the right
time,
questions.
DJ Vlad was interviewing tons of adult actresses, which he would later phase out, but it generated a lot of views and attention because not many outlets were interviewing them, and there was a demand for that. Then he would expand and interview people close to famous rappers in the past, whether it be Tupac and interviewing everyone around his death, Jay-Z, Biggie. Because he couldn't get interviews with those in the closest current circle, he would dig deeper. Vlad has consistently had to operate as an outsider to the music industry,
Put in the
and
work.
as he's built his platform to a mainstay, he might still be upset that he's getting disrespected in the way that he has, and realizes that he doesn't need to continue to be professional with these people because they've done nothing but potentially block business for him. Many of these platforms gave these artists their first interview, first coverage, exposed them to their audience, who would become fans, and then later on, when these artists have the opportunity to return the favor with an interview or
Vlad don't need them. They need him. Let's be real.
appearance, they choose not to. Same thing with a lot of artists and managers. A manager brings them along, brings them to different labels, gives them a lot of opportunity. They blow up and they ditch the manager. And that can be understandable. But what isn't is when people are holding personal grudges against platforms and not notifying the artist that there's a potential interview on the table. While I personally think it's wrong, and I wouldn't down an artist publicly whose album sold awfully for not doing an interview with me, something needs to change for the current establishment to start recognizing the influence newer media outlets have and working with them in some capacity instead of ostracizing them from opportunities that radio stations get when their interviews are nearly a dead form of promotion now. It's just quid pro quo. Give us a radio interview, that'll do almost no views, and we'll spin this song on the radio because it's still a valuable resource in the music industry.
Definitely shout out to Vlad. Shout out to DJ Academics too. What I want to say is I feel like he pulled the move out of DJ Academics book. You know what I'm saying? You see that they cool, and I feel like both of them is just tired of the disrespect when it comes to like people think, oh, just because they do interviews and all that, oh, you a bitch, stay in your lane. It's like at some point you gotta defend yourself. You gotta defend yourself. And that's what people be surprised that when you finally start defending yourself, as far as like Vlad, people just look at it like, oh, shut up, you a bitch, sit behind the camera. But now that he's speaking up, it shocks people. Um One thing about me, I say never be afraid to speak up. And with that being said, love is love. I appreciate y'all. I'm gonna catch y'all in the next video.